expense. Deduct meters cost between $800 and $1,200. Your bill logic is illogical. Some examples. In 2021, if a unit owner called and complained about their Q3 bill, the sewer rate was adjusted to $164.44, regardless of their consumption. This is true for 8 of the 14 on that spreadsheet. At your March 1st meeting, Tim Zimmerman shared his view and estimates of Q3 2022 charges. Let's talk about some of those estimates. A unit was estimated to use 17,000 gallons. It actually came a little slightly higher at 18,000 gallons. Mr. Zimmerman's estimate was for $157.53. However, the unit's bill came in at $280.82, a 78% miss. Another unit's consumption estimate was 20. Actual consumption again, slightly higher at 21,000. Cost estimate was $178.27. Actual cost, $338.07. Another miss at 89%. Let's look at another unit. When the consumption estimate and actual were the same at 42,000 gallons. The estimated cost was $330, but actual was $614. Another big miss by 86%. As you are aware, I'm not sure you're aware of the disclaimer at the bottom of the Q3 bills. Your network server housing the billing system failed on September 24th. This caused significant amount of data to be lost. Lost data had to be manually re-entered. I do not trust your data, and I do not trust your logic. We the citizens and occupants of condominiums of Blackstone Creek want three things. A complete review of how water and sewer data is gathered and analyzed. Secondly, a review and corrections to Mr. Zimmerman's proposed Q3 rates and revised based upon new logic. We expect credits to be issued to us based upon the new logic. And third, communicate to all citizens of the Village of Germantown what happened with Q3 water bills, what corrective actions you are making, and how you will prevent mistakes like this ever happening again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Good evening. I am Fred Schmelzer, North 115, West 17846, Sawgrass Court. I'm a resident and president of the Glen at Blackstone Creek condominium. 1 year ago, upon receiving my third quarter water and sewage bill, I and a number of other residents became aware of a miscalculation in that billing. Upon contacting my trustee, I was informed this did not affect all village residents. I strongly suspect, since there was no general notification of this error, if a resident didn't request compensation, none was offered. Well, here we are again. But the village outdid itself this time. I concur with the analysis presented by our condominium treasurer, Bob Simonson. Simple spreadsheet analysis highlighted questionable charges when compared to the 100 resident exhibit prepared by village staff and presented to this body on March 1st, 2022. Simple analysis or simulation of the October 2022 billing prior to mailing those bills would have highlighted questionable application of the revised calculations. Was there opportunity to do rigorous simulations? I refer to Tim Zimmerman's email of October 19th, 2021 to Steve Krecklow, in which he reports, based off of a few quick calls to some of my colleagues, here's what I came up with. Those calls were to 6 neighboring suburbs, which seemed to only ask if they had a summer sewage credit. This is 1 year ago. Certainly, there was sufficient time to do comprehensive validation. This certainly deserved more than a few quick calls. This brings back my memory to the Tom Ament pension debacle, which is still driving Milwaukee to the brink of bankruptcy. I and others present demand that the fourth quarter billings be recalculated and repayment be made immediately to all residents who are overcharged. Further, the village board should rescind its action it took authorizing the formula revision. And finally, the village board should contract with competent financial experts to devise a fair and equitable solution to the sewage charge issue. There is no confidence the village has the capability to perform this analysis internally. What is the ancillary fallout of this utility billing? I believe the Richfield water referendum has no chance of passing. If the village cannot devise equitable utility billing for its own residents, can you honestly believe the village did a complete, accurate analysis? I was a supporter of the referendum, but not anymore. My additional fear is that you just killed the residential housing market in the village of Germantown. When word gets out that residents are getting $600, $700, $800, and even $900 water and sewage bills, who would want to move here? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And who would like to come up next?
My name is Karen Young. I reside at North 104, West 16905 Thornapple in Old Farm Subdivision. My husband and I built that home in 1976. It is a small 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath home. I live alone, I'm a widow, and my water bill this quarter was $349. Now, I do not have a swimming pool in the basement unless my sump pump dies. I don't have a sauna, I don't have a hot tub. I cannot afford this type of water bill, and I don't understand where it came from. Now, I heard earlier something that you were going to look at these water bills in December. So what does that tell me? You're going to automatically withdraw $349 for my water bill on November 15th? I just can't pull this out of the air. I'm very appalled, and I agree with the gentleman before me that you're killing residential, and also I will not be supporting the Richfield proposition for extending sewer to them, because I do not believe that you know how to adjust my sewer. From what I was told, they're going to be paying more for sewer charges than we are to make up the difference, and that they're going to be paying all the structural. I don't believe you. I think that you need to address this right away. I don't know how to stop payment if it's coming automatically out of my checkbook. I'm really very, very upset. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else who would like to come up, please? Anyone else who would like to comment? Going once? Nobody else? I'd like to reiterate again that if you can, and you can always watch on the computer as well, we are going to be addressing all of these questions. We received these documents tonight on Blackstone. Haven't even really had a chance to look at them, but we will, I promise you, by the next meeting. And we will have all the appropriate people here to discuss this in greater detail, how we got here, what's being done and what's next. And I will promise you that we'll be on the agenda the first Tuesday in December, okay? And we'll take a very close look at it and hopefully be able to respond to you, okay? And thank you all for coming. With that, we will move on to new business A, 2023 Wachtell Arboricultural Consulting Services Contract.
Good evening, everybody. Hoping this will be a fairly easy topic. I think right here at this very committee level, we can remember some conversations where we involved Wachtell Tree Science. They've been our forestry consultant here for over a decade, and they've done a fantastic job helping us mitigate through a number of difficult situations. So we're looking to extend that contract with them again this year. There was a slight price increase that's reflected here in the backup, but we're still coming to you with a not to exceed $15,000 contract. It's paid based on their time spent, billed by the hour. So we're obviously making the recommendation here as staff to continue with Wachtell. That would come out of our general street tree line item maintenance out of the parks account. That would be 10,553,530,5290. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mitty?
We'll move approval of the contract with Wachtell not to exceed 15,000. Is that right?
Yeah.
For the 2023 calendar year.
Second.
Any discussion?
What did we spend this year with a Wachtell?
I can only tell you, Trustee Nyrider, that we haven't yet gotten close to our 15,000. I'm going to say we're somewhere probably in the $10,000 ballpark. Again, just as a quick reminder to Wachtell is helping us with our tree planting specifications, tree removal if need be, emerald ash borer treatment. They're doing plan review for the planning department and as new development comes in. So they've really got their hands in a lot of things, and we're still staying within that threshold.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for you. How are we doing on the emerald ash borer trees? Are we getting some of these dead trees out? Are we waiting for them to fall? Or how is that going on around the village? Because I still see a lot of them.
Yeah, there are a lot. And Larry and Deb can probably both attest to some emails that were going around here over the last week. We cleared Merkle Drive earlier this year, cleared the right of way. We've still got some residents in certain areas that have trees that could affect the road. We certainly as a village still have areas. Maple Road would be one of them. If anybody travels Maple Road south of Fawn and can picture that area, that's on our radar. You know, as far as the treatment goes, we're doing good. I think I shared with you guys this spring that in the next coming years here, we're hoping to be able to maybe go once every 3 years with treatment instead of every other year. So hopefully that'll come at a little cost savings to the village. But we certainly still have a fair amount of work ahead of us, especially in our rural and outlying areas.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. Any more comments or discussion? We'll vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Contract service agreement for tower number 3.
Good evening. So before you tonight, presenting the Village Water Utility requests approval for a services agreement by Foth Infrastructure Environmental LLC to provide contract bid documents for the rehabilitation and painting at Tower 3 on Mech 1 Road. Foth is our design firm for the new tower on Gateway Crossing and retains our current design standards and specifications. The scope of services include preliminary design plans and specifications, along with DNR submittals and the bidding process. The total services agreement is in the amount of $54,050.
Committee?
Move approval of the contract for not to exceed $54,050 to Foth Services out of the account specified.
Second it.
Discussion? Bill?
Well, just a question for you. You know, I looked at this number when I saw 54,000, I thought, that's a lot of money. And looked at the services that, you know, they're providing. Am I missing something here?
No,
It just seems to me, and has this gone up a lot in recent years? But we're talking,
This is just to create the bid docs, right?
Well, there's more than that. There's some
specs.
design criteria. We're doing some fabrication on the tower. So it's not just create the paper documents. There's site inspection. There's several things we're looking at replacing. There's an overflow pipe that has to be redesigned that was installed incorrectly when it was originally installed. A frost-proof vent on the top. There's egress ladders that have to be designed on the top for the wet bowl and the access tube to come out. We're removing a it's called a mud ring. It's used for the old style cleaning the inside of the bowl. It's basically cutting and chopping and abandoning certain parts of the pumping system inside the tower.
Is there anybody else that does this type of work, or is it pretty limited?
Well, there are. I mean, if there's other contract services out there. I just felt it was probably the best move since we just got done with the design up at Gateway Crossing, and some of those designs we're going to be pulling in to this tower.
Additional comments? Bill?
That's it. Thank you.
Anything else? Any other comments? Bill, you have something on your mind? No?
Thank you.
Okay. You have that on your mind look. Okay, with that said, we'll vote all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
One in opposition? That'd be Bill, no, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. That brings us to a discussion of the 2022 road projects. We don't have a handout on that, do we?
So I just wanted to bring this forward to the committee because we are done with the road projects, pretty far done, except for Century and Lovers Lane, which is at gravel grade, I'll say. We have to install the culverts yet and finish grade and pave. But I just wanted to update everybody that it looks like Lovers Lane and Century was that project that comes about my first time in 7.5 years here that is overrun. The subgrade soils were very poor. We did several soil borings on the project, but it didn't reveal itself to how soft they were once we uncapped it and started running vehicles on it and proof rolling it. It was very poor soils. So we ended up undercutting the whole road, which is taking another 12 inches of dirt out, and putting a geogrid down, which is a mesh, a high-strength mesh geogrid to structurally support the soils, and then put an extra 12 inches of 3-inch graded stone on top of that for support, which is typical what you do when you have to build up the subgrade, and then another 9 inches of what we bid out for material. We bid out about 30% of the roadway. We had to do 98% of the roadway. So that project is going to come in about, I'm estimating now because we haven't paved everything yet, about $100,000 over what we budgeted. Some of the other roads are coming in a little bit under 10,000, 15, 20,000 here or there. So the whole 2022 program could come in around $80,000, I'm estimating right now, over. And I'm bringing this to the committee because there's been a lot of discussions on money that we've kept and rolling over for the roads. And I've always presented the fact that we need to keep some money in that road program budget for this occurrence. I know the year before I came here in 2014, there was a project that was done that had about $140,000 overrun on it. There was no pool of money to cover that. I'm not sure where that money came from. So I thought it'd be a nice thing to start off coming this time of the year when the roads are done and just give the committee an update of where the projects are. We did quite a few roads this year, as you see in my monthly report. Country Air is done. It's just got to be a couple stones cleaned up and everything, but that's finally done. Century and Lovers is probably our last very poor road in the village, those two roads. If you go out and drive it now and see how wide it is, it's actually a full 22 to 24 foot wide base. And before, some of that road was 16 feet wide, I think. So we're really starting to catch up on the really poor roads. But I just want to come and give the committee an update on that. So you're aware that when I come with the final numbers where it's sitting, and also to enlighten you that every once in a while, this project comes along where it kind of catches us off guard a little bit. We like I say, we cored for soil sampling, and when you core for soil sample or rock, it's good for about a 2-foot radius of that hole. And then from there, you're still guessing what it is. And that's very typical. So I just wanted to take and make it an item on the agenda just to update you and let you know where the program was for this year.
Thank you for that. I really think Country Air happened fast. You didn't think so? I mean, I live in that area. and
It happened very
fast.
It happened very fast. We actually got the sewer and water in time before. I will say that the sewer was put in probably about the same time that we had all the final approvals, because the sanitary sewer was actually installed in an area that is not in our sewer service area. We actually got approval from MMSD, from Sewer Pack, and from DNR to install that sanitary sewer being outside the sewer service area, as long as the village committed to not let anybody hook up to it until it's brought into the sewer service area. But if we wouldn't have done that, we either would have torn up Country Air Drive in 2 or 3 years, or just not put it in for 10 years because we wouldn't have wanted to tear the road up. So we did all that. I think the sidewalk turned out nice. You'll see that we actually ground in rumble strips where you see the hash marks where the sidewalks along the road. If you drive on there at 5 miles an hour, it'll wake you up. We put in some really aggressive rumble strips in there, plus the white striping. So it's unusual to have the sidewalk that close to the road, but there was no other room to put the sidewalk in, seeing that the committee dictated that the sidewalk had to be on the same side of the road all the way down. And that sidewalk was paid for by Newman Development. Will pay for all of that walk. The piping and the paving, they'll pay for all that. So I think that's a nice finish to that project and that street. So
That's a good project.
and also put on the agenda because you can ask questions of me if it's an agenda item.
The shortfalls, if we do go over budget, and it appears that we're going to, is there enough currently in that budget, or are we going to start affecting 2023?
Nope. So the rollover amount, when I did all my research to determine what was left in there, was about $525,000. And that's kind of a rough number right now because I have to put in the other estimates. And we're gonna have some money left over from Country Air because we had 672,000, I believe, left from the jurisdictional transfer I was allowed to use on that project. That project was bid at 631,000, and on that project, we didn't have to do any undercutting. So that one, we have a bonus coming back in towards the rollover money into the paving program. I think that project's gonna cost us somewhere around 580,000 instead of 631,000. These are all really rough estimates because we haven't got all the invoices in from the contractor yet. It's just our estimates of where it's gonna
So
be.
overall, it may not be 80 for the budget.
It may be 50, it may be 40 when I get it all, if I include the jurisdictional money that was used for Country Air, a lot for Country Air, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But from my understanding, that's all into the pool of money. And then what we do when we're planning the roads for the next year, we're just increasing what we're doing, the number of roads and what type of roads we're doing and getting more miles done.
I know this says 2022 road projects, but we already have the roads. I mean, we've got a set of roads that you want to do next year already.
Well, we have 5 years of roads
Yeah.
selected already.
That'll be coming up at a meeting soon,
Yeah.
correct? We'll talk
Yes.
about that again.
Yep, I'll bring it up in December.
Phil, did you have a question?
So how do we determine the amount, our targeted amount that we want to hold for, to roll over into the next year, Larry? So is it a specific amount? Is it a percent of the budget? Or how do we determine that amount?
I never really had to determine it, but if I had to, I would say around $100,000. And here was what my suggestion would be. We hold back the money that we got from the jurisdictional transfer money because we're not paying interest on that. That's not borrowed money. That's money the village acquired through the jurisdictional transfer. So I would say we start maybe the building with that leftover money. And then, I just try to spend everything that we have in rollover. So $100,000 seems to be a good number if we get caught with some sort of subgrade like we did with Lovers and Century that can boost us, unless we discuss that, if there is ever overrun, we don't want to hold anything that we can use reserves.
So
Two ways that I would suggest we could do that.
So am I not understanding? I thought we had a, excuse me, $500,000, 525?
About that, yes. Really close to that. Right, that's what I figured out coming, we actually,
The budget for next year because we have.
it goes into next year's, we actually bid out $1.8 million of roads this year.
Okay,
And I gambled because when the past director left, she had told me there was over $300,000 in rollover, and that was the end of '21. I didn't know what the total was, so I kind of went, okay, if there was 300 there, I should have about that going into '22. And so we bid about 1.8 million. So I was trying to spend a good portion of the rollover money. What we try to do is bid the jobs conservatively with and usually that's the undercut and the stone to fill that in. Like we made out on Country Air, we bid out 30 or 40% of the area, we did none. So sometimes that's where the rollover comes from, but and it can be used in the same project on a different street in say 2022, and it is. So it's just, you just roll the dice a little bit of what's good and what's bad. When we do just a mill and overlay, there isn't much gamble because you're going to mill off 2 inches and put on 2 inches of asphalt. That's pretty clean cut bidding and estimating.
so for 23, we're bidding out 2.2, is that correct?
I thought we were at 2. I'd have to look back at the minutes. Yes. We're increasing the number and type of streets that we're bidding out. And we used a lot of the streets from 23 in 22 to get the bid up to 1.8 million. And so we had to move 24s into 23 and we're juggling that, but we came up with a suggested 5-year plan. And next week, we'll probably be sitting down with Scott Anderson and Bill Walk from the street department to see if they have any suggested areas where they think are worse than what we selected. And then they're going to base their seal coating program and their repairs as far as crack sealing off of that 5-year road program, or ditches or culverts or things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the roads? Then we'll just flow right into any questions on the project update. Take a minute, take a look at that. Anything? I really appreciate these project updates, Larry. I mean, they're concise and yet they're very informative. Well, hearing none, I think,
I can just put one quick thing.
right ahead.
The one thing I would like to point out, number 11, with the proposed roundabout to go in at 145 and County Chicago G or Division Road. I misunderstood, I think, or they misstated the construction year. The construction year is going to be 2026.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're going to start the design in '23, but part of that is acquiring property. And so their land division has to get involved, and then they have to do appraisals, and that starts slowing things down, and then the design. And then so it'll be done by the end of 2026. because they're already looking for details of plan. That's the one thing that may jump out as you're looking for any changes of these projects. I think I find out this coming Monday, I have to go to a meeting for the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. And at that meeting, they're going to discuss, and I believe I'll find out if the Division Road Project grant submittal was approved or not. So at our December meeting, I should know, or at the board meeting, I might know if that is approved or not. If that isn't, we may want to look and see what we want to do internally if we want to attack Division Road. And we could spend some of the extra money next year. We could do that road in 2 phases if we want to spread it out over 2 years, because it's an expensive project.
Do they have more money in that budget, that state budget now, or how does that work?
They do have more money, but I saw the listing of applicants. The total requested, I think, was around $800 million from all the applicants. And I believe they have somewhere around 28 or 29 million to hand out for that period of 22 to 26. And every year they increase it, but there's a lot of submittals in there. It was around $800+ million of total submittals.
Okay.
They base it on volume of traffic, and they grade every road. And so like I say, Monday, I have to go to a meeting, and I'll find out whether we were awarded the project or not.
Any additional questions on the projects updates? If not, we will set our next meeting date. The first Tuesday in December would be the 6th. Does that work for everyone? And I guess it will be at 6 p.m. Okay. We did have a request to consider 5:30 p.m. moving forward. How does that work for people? Is that a little tight for you, Rick? No?
No, just a little traffic tonight.
Okay. Are you okay with we could try it and just see. Why don't we do 5:30? And we used to be 5:30 a long time ago, and then we moved to 6.
Tuesday the 6th.
Tuesday, the 6th at 5:30 p.m. Okay?
I think that's good.
And with that, we'll adjourn this meeting at 6:11 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.